Rachel Zegler is living a moment straight out of a fairy tale, and this time, it's not just on screen. On Monday, March 24, the 23-year-old actress took to Instagram the kind of joyful announcement every actor dreams of: Snow White, Disney's highly anticipated live-action remake of the beloved animated classic, had officially claimed the crown as the #1 movie in the world. In a warm, candid snapshot from the set, Zegler is seen dressed in her iconic Snow White costume, smiling and waving from the doorway of her trailer, as if inviting fans into the magical world she helped bring to life. The caption was short but powerful: #1 movie in the world. Paired with two fitting emojis, a bright red apple and a delicate snowflake, nodding to the most timeless imagery from the fairy tale. The post quickly went viral, attracting hundreds of thousands of likes and an outpouring of congratulations from fans, fellow actors, and industry insiders. For Zegler, this moment was more than just a box office milestone. It was the culmination of a 4-year journey that began when she was cast at the age of 20. In a reflective Instagram post just days earlier, she had shared that working on Snow White was a life-changing experience that spanned her early 20s, a period of personal and professional transformation that she admitted cannot be accurately described but would now be preserved forever in film. That kind of emotional growth, intertwined with a project of this scale, made the film's success feel deeply personal to her. Behind the public smiles, this triumph also served as a moment of vindication. Zegler's journey to the film's release was not without challenges, including the weight of public scrutiny and social media backlash. But on this day, she chose to focus on the joy, the craft, and the team that brought Snow White to life. It wasn't just about topping the charts, it was about proving to herself, and perhaps to her critics, that she could carry one of Disney's most expensive productions in recent history. While Zegler's celebratory post captured hearts, the industry buzz was all about the numbers. According to Variety, Snow White earned $43 million domestically and $44.3 million internationally in its opening weekend, for a total of $87.3 million worldwide. Those figures, while shy of the staggering $240 million production budget, were still enough to secure the film's spot as the top-grossing movie across the globe during its debut. The film's performance edged out some serious competition, including Black Bag, Captain America, Brave New World, and Mickey 17, proving that Disney's reimagined classics still have a powerful pull at the box office. Even in a market saturated with blockbuster releases, the familiar magic of a fairy tale, paired with modern visuals and star power, continues to draw audiences. Other releases that weekend struggled to find footing. Robert De Niro's Alto Nights brought in a modest $3.2 million domestically and $1.8 million internationally, while Jonathan Majors' Magazine Dreams barely scraped $700,000 in total earnings. In contrast, Snow White not only dominated the conversation but also positioned itself as one of Disney's most talked-about projects of the year, for better or worse. For Disney executives, this opening weekend was a mixed but hopeful signal. While the film didn't smash records in the same way as other recent live-action adaptations, the top spot proved that Snow White had enough momentum to potentially grow through strong word-of-mouth, international markets, and merchandising. And for Rachel Zegler, the takeaway was simple: no matter the critics, the audience still showed up. Long before box office figures and headline-grabbing reviews, Snow White existed as a deeply personal creative experience for Rachel Zegler. Throughout production, she shared select behind-the-scenes moments on her social media, small, intimate glimpses into life on set. One post showed her rehearsing with the film's choreographers, perfecting the graceful movements that would define Snow White's presence on screen. Another captured her in mid-laughter between takes with co-star Gal Gadot, hinting at a warm camaraderie even between the story's on-screen rivals. These moments painted a picture of a cast and crew united not just by a contract, but by a shared commitment to breathing new life into an 87-year-old tale. Zegler often spoke of the film as a family, and in many ways, it was. The production spanned multiple countries and required an enormous coordination of costume designers, set decorators, visual effects teams, and musicians. The elaborate costume department, for instance, spent months recreating Snow White's dress in painstaking detail while incorporating subtle modern touches. The magic audiences saw in the finished product wasn't just in the story, it was in the thousands of hours poured into making each scene feel timeless. For Zegler, these behind-the-scenes bonds were as meaningful as the film's final cut. When Rachel Zegler was first cast as Snow White at just 20 years old, she was relatively new to Hollywood. Her breakout role in Steven Spielberg's West Side Story had proven her talent, but stepping into the shoes of Disney's first princess came with an entirely different level of expectation. Over the course of production, Zegler experienced her early 20s in an unusual way, on elaborate soundstages, in front of green screens, and in remote locations transformed into magical kingdoms. This period was not without growing pains. In interviews, she admitted that she learned more about herself in those years than she could have imagined. She grew more confident in her craft, more resilient in the face of criticism, and more aware of the responsibility that comes with leading a massive production. By the time the film's release rolled around, Zegler was not just an actress promoting a movie, she was a young woman looking back on a defining chapter of her life. The journey from casting to release had been one of both artistic challenge and personal transformation. Of course, Snow White's journey to the top of the box office wasn't without turbulence. From the moment Zegler's casting was announced, she faced a wave of racist backlash from a vocal minority of online critics who took issue with a Latina actress portraying a traditionally white Disney princess. This vitriol often overshadowed the excitement surrounding the project, forcing Zegler to confront the darker side of public attention early in her career. The controversy intensified when old interview clips resurfaced in which Zegler described the 1937 animated film as dated. While many saw her comments as harmless and honest, others interpreted them as disrespect toward the original classic. This fueled debates across social media, dividing audiences between those eager for a modern reimagining and those who felt Disney was straying too far from tradition. The actress remained firm in her belief that every generation deserves a version of the story that reflects its values, even if that meant weathering the storm of online criticism. The new Snow White isn't a frame-for-frame recreation of the 1937 original, and that's by design. Adapted by Erin Cressida Wilson, the film introduces new characters, such as Andrew Burnap's Jonathan, while expanding Snow White's role as a leader rather than a passive damsel in distress. The shift reflects Disney's ongoing push to update its legacy characters for contemporary audiences, aiming to make them more proactive and relatable. This modernization extended beyond the script. The soundtrack, crafted by acclaimed composers Ben Posek and Justin Paul, blends traditional orchestral arrangements with fresh, theatrical compositions that give the film its own identity. The cinematography uses a mix of practical sets and cutting-edge CGI, creating a dreamlike visual world that feels both nostalgic and new. For some viewers, these changes breathed new life into a familiar tale; for others, it marked a departure from what they loved about the original. Either way, it ensured that this Snow White would stand apart as a distinctive interpretation rather than a safe imitation. While Zegler's Snow White is the heart of the film, Gal Gadot's turn as the evil queen brought a darker, glamorous energy that balanced the story. Gadot embraced the role's theatricality, delivering a performance that was both menacing and captivating. Her costuming, rich with jewel tones, intricate embroidery, and sweeping capes, became a visual highlight in early trailers, signaling that this queen would be just as memorable as her animated predecessor. The supporting cast added further charm, particularly through the voices and motion capture performances of Jeremy Swift, Martin Kleber, George Salazar, Andy Grotelueson, Titus Burgess, Jason Kravitz, and Andrew Barth Feldman as the Seven Dwarfs. Their personalities shone through in both comedic and heartfelt moments, helping ground the film's fantasy elements in relatable human emotion. Together, the ensemble created a layered world in which Zegler's Snow White could truly shine.